Greetings to all my viewers out there at the People's Voice. You are listening to Birth of a New Earth. My name is Janice Barcelo. I have an amazing and interesting and powerful guest with me tonight. His name is George Kavassilas, and he's communicating with us from Australia. And I have been so impressed with some of the things that George has been sharing. George, I wonder if I can ask you to introduce yourself and for you to tell my listeners, my viewers, how you came to know the information you've come to know. I know you had a personal experience that brought you to a place of deep knowing. I wonder if you could share about that.
Yeah, thank you, Janice. I'd like to say hello to everyone, and I also want to say thank you for inviting me on. I feel honoured and privileged to have received that invitation. Throughout my life, have had an extraordinary life. I have been having experiences, interdimensional, extraterrestrial, from a very, very, very young age, from the time I was a toddler, as far back as my memories go. And so there's been many interactions on a regular basis throughout my life. I really couldn't count how many there've been. And there's also been many interactions where I've had my memory screened. So there's interactions that have taken place that even I am not consciously aware of, but I know that they've taken place.
Interesting.
So in 2003 is when I had what I will call my preeminent experience. And that was when a group of my galactic family, which is what I will call my galactic family, came and picked me up and took me from a very small shuttlecraft and took me to a much larger craft halfway between our solar system and the Sirius system in proximity. And aboard this much larger craft was a conglomerate of different races. But the primary race and the more prolific race on that craft was Syrian, because my incarnational construct here in this world, this time around, most of my energy comes from my own Syrian aspect. I have also the makeup here is from my Orion aspect and also my Pleiadian aspect. So I've three main energetic streams coming in, which is three aspects of myself coming in, which are the most dominant aspects of my incarnation. And the rest of my incarnation is made up of everything that I have seen, done, and been in this universe, because I'm a fractal of all that I am. So explaining that to give people an understanding of the premise as to the setup, it wasn't an abduction. It was pre-organized prior to my incarnation that this would take place at this point in time in my life. So once we got to the main craft, and the craft itself was made up of the collective intention of all involved. So it's not like a nuts and bolts craft that gets created in a factory or is manufactured by artificial intelligence or anything like that. There pretty much is no artificial intelligence whatsoever. All the workings of the craft and all the propulsion system and everything is made up of consciousness. So, and the propulsion system is actually what is used is the law of attraction. So it's gravity. We gravitate to the location because it has to do with our soul's journey. So everything that takes place in that craft and all the beings involved in that craft flow with the natural flow of all the beings involved and their rivers of life and the intentions of one's soul. And therefore, anything that craft does and all the beings involved in that craft, all that karma goes directly back. So everything that takes place is in conjunction with whatever reality we're in, the consciousness of that reality, and let's say for this galaxy, for example, so the consciousness of the galaxy and also the consciousness of, and not just the consciousness, but the essence and the soul of the universal creator. So what happened was, because I was going to take a really incredible journey, my own family from Cirrus stood around me, and so much of me was going to come out of the body in this moment that my body would have perished. So what they did, and I was included in this, was we used a unified field of love. So I would come out of my body, and our unified field of love would maintain the integrity of my body so my body wouldn't perish. So I was held in stasis by our unified love field rather than technology. So it's a very organic method. And then I started traveling with my consciousness and my spirit because I was being absorbed by my soul. So I'm going to be using expressions and labels that we're familiar with, but where they fit into the scheme of things might be a little bit different than most people are used to hearing. Excuse me. So you'll notice that I've already said my spirit, my consciousness was absorbed by the soul. So what's the overriding aspect here?
Yeah, those are important. That's an important question. How do you define soul? How are you defining spirit? Is there a difference for you?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We will get into that because I feel these subjects are of utmost importance right now in our world for people to really understand the difference between spirit, consciousness, and soul. That they are three different expressions that we have. And
So I really
each
want people to
functions.
understand this. I really want people to understand this too. So rather than describe in so much detail your personal experience, I just want people to get a sense of how you began to see what you see, and then to talk about what you see, because what you understand is very important, like the difference between soul and spirit.
Yeah, but I need, Janice, I just need to give a bit more of that background because that
Okay.
experience will answer that question.
Okay.
And so as I was moving up through and up or in towards center of the universe, it depends on your perspective, how you want to view this. Some people have a hierarchical perspective. For me, it's almost like moving towards the center. And because soul is the center, my central core of what I am in this universe. And all the star systems just started merging and becoming into a galactic vortex. And then all the galaxies were merging together, and all the galaxies became a vortex. And all the different dimensions at the same time just started merging together. And then all the multiverse. So all these little vortexes of light were universes. They all just started merging together and together. And eventually I popped out of the whole thing, and the whole thing was one little vortex of light spinning really fast. So if you can imagine, I've popped out of the universal matrix altogether, and I'm just seeing the whole thing as a vortex of light. And I'm just merging. In that moment, I'm one with my soul, and I'm also one with the universal creator. And there's still more realities I was moving through, but they had a different construct to the ones that are a part of the universal matrix, or I also call it the labyrinth, or what I really like to call it is the grand arena of the matrix. And then I was with the creator as one on the same level. On that level, we are all equal with the creator, that aspect of us. And I also got to see beyond our universe. So when I talk about our universe, I'm talking about everything that is constructed of the energy of light in all its expressions. And I connected with my infinite essence. And in that moment, I remembered, and it's a full knowing, that we are
Mm.
infinite. We're
Yeah.
all infinite. That there's no beginning to us and there's no end to us. That we've never been created, never been created, because we've always existed and we always will exist. Now, that right there, to
Huh.
understand what it means to be infinite, is the golden key, which, if one contemplates what it means to be infinite, will reveal all the programs of limitation, all the deception. That is the golden key to life. It really is.
I mean, I immediately went when you said I went to the Bible there for a second where it talks about how God created this and God created that, and on the seventh day God rested, or whatever it says. But here you're saying there really was no beginning. We've always existed. We're infinite. It's almost like a totally different concept. It's hard to wrap our heads around it, you know? I've also heard you speak about organic light, which is what you were part of in your experience, versus a synthetic light. Do you want to share a little bit about what the difference is?
Oh, yeah, I would love to, because once one realizes one is infinite, that's our true natural nature, our organic nature, then what gets exposed is the God program.
Yay.
Because remember, I said I was one with the universal creator. I
Yes.
did not call the universal creator God. I have in the past, but I've come to realize there's a distinction between the two. There's a God entity, then there's the creator of the universe.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you'll also let me explain too that what I saw beyond our universe and the creator of this universe was what I will use the languaging now is all I can describe here in my embodiment in this world, and the language we use, I will describe them as dots. Okay, that's all I can say. They weren't like dots like stars, they were uniquely different, but they're just so hard to describe. But each one of those dots, and there was countless of them, countless dots, were other universes, and they were made up of something other than light. And each one is unique, its own expression. So what I also came to realize is that we are the creators of all these other universes. And so, for example, excuse me, you have your own universe, Janice, and we are all inside your universe, and you are the creator of that universe. And the reason we are all inside your universe is because we love your expression, we love your construct, and we want to not only experience it, but we want to learn everything there is about it. So therefore, we can then go about creating our universe through that expression and therefore through that construct. And that's
How
why we
interesting.
decided that's why we decided to come into this universe, because this universe is made up of light. And now this one is uniquely different. They're all uniquely different, but the challenge of this universe is different to most others simply because of it's a universe of contrasting expressions. So the way light is created is we express ourselves from our centered state, from our complete state of being, our wholeness. We express ourselves one way. And then what we need to do is express ourselves in an exact equal opposite to counterbalance the first expression. You see that? Boom, boom. That was the very first sine wave that gets created. Then we express ourselves yet again in another way. Then we have to counterbalance that again. And that is how vibration begins. That is how light is created. See, just in that moment. And so we go take it further and then further and then further and then further and then further. And it is the most amazing, unique way of expressing oneself. And also the challenges that are provided for a being to have this incredible experience is just so wonderful. So when we entered into this universe, the
George, I want to give you
creator,
a heads up that we have about 2 minutes before the break. So I kind of want to ask you to wind it down with the response.
so basically we have the natural organic creator, but because it's a universe of contrasting expressions, by its very nature, if you have the organic natural creator, you then have you have to have a being who's not the creator, but is going to claim to be the creator. That's the natural environment of this universe. So you'll have the natural creator, then you'll have the being claiming to be the creator.
And that's what we have in religion. I've heard you say there's an imposter, that this
Yes.
imposter is sort of masquerading as the real creator, and actually millions of people are worshiping the imposter who demands worship
It
and other
solicits
things.
worship.
Yes. Not only solicits, demands it. The God of the Bible has extreme punishments for those who don't, worship him the way he wants to be worshiped. So it's a pretty intense set of circumstances. And I think this is a conversation that really needs to be had so that people can begin to have a relationship with the real creator as opposed to the imposter. We do have to go to break. I am very interested to continue this conversation when we come back. I hope my listening audience will also be very interested to hear the conversation. So please stick around, folks. We'll be back right after the break. Welcome back, everybody. You're here at Birth of a New Earth with Janice Barcelo and George Kavassilas. We were talking about the distinction between the real creator, the universal creator, as George refers to that energy, compared with the deity that people are worshiping, the Judeo-Christian God, who I think it's even the same entity in Islam, if I'm not incorrect. So there's a lot of people worshiping an imposter and believing that that's the real creator. I wonder if we could go into some more detail about that distinction, George.
Well, in all honesty, there's probably about 99.9% of the population on the planet worshipping that creator, and not in the form of worship that people will understand about getting on their knees. The programs of this God entity are far more sophisticated than just the old-fashioned notion of the God of the Old Testament demanding worship. Far more sophisticated than that. This being has been around for a very long time and has worked its way to the top of this most amazing position and role playing in this universe. And the universe has been, when I hear people talking about, like, say, the world of science, the religion, because science is a religion, true science,
Yes,
there's very little true science going on in this world.
Yeah.
But the religious science will say that creation has been around for about 14 billion years, or maybe a bit longer than that. That is so far from the mark. There are no numbers that you can attach to the age of this universe. In reality, there isn't. Simply, if you think about the great arena, for example, the great arena itself has parallel universes within it, the universal matrix, what I call the universal matrix, the organic one. It has untold numbers of parallel universes within it. And that is one section of the main universe. So the magnitude of what I'm sharing here is so great. It's very challenging for our current mental paradigm to actually grasp these concepts. You actually have to go beyond the framework of your mind and really start getting back into your core essence of who and what you are and your soul to really understand, to begin to really grasp the concepts, because this will make people's minds hurt. Because
in an effort to bring it into a more grounded space, because I fully understood what you spoke about when I listened to one of your videos. My mind really got it right away. Can we share a little bit with the listeners about what are some of the programs of this very sophisticated false God, imposter God? What are some of the programs that people are participating in?
Sure. So whether someone is a fanatical Christian, whether somebody's a fanatical Islamist or a fanatical Buddhist or a Hindu
Zionist.
or shaman, because the majority of the shamanism in this world has been infiltrated too. This entity has infiltrated every single one. Or whether you're a part of a secret society and you're participating in occult rituals, and the practices and the doctrines of these cults and occults, well, you're all, and I can't leave out the New Age religion. So all of those have a common denominator. So people think they've gone from Christianity to the New Age religion, and they think they're free and they're sovereign and they're broken free from that God entity. Well, no, all it's done is presented a different package, a different set of programs and doctrines, but it's still the same system, like the mechanisms that people are using. And I'll give an example.
Yes,
And
please.
I understand this is very challenging for people. I do. I understand that. But I ask people to really try and let go of their programming and start getting into more of the organic, natural order of life. So whether you sit and you meditate and you align your chakras, for example, and you try to open your crown chakra, well, opening your crown chakra to connect with God and accessing God through your pineal gland, for example, is absolutely no different to the opening of the seventh seal, because the chakras are the seven seals, and connecting with God. It is no different when you're doing Kundalini meditation and you get the Kundalini going up the spine towards the pineal gland. So you're going up your 33 vertebrae, where you get to the top and you become a 33rd degree Freemason.
Mm-hmm.
And you hit the pineal gland, and because you're using spirit fire in Masonry, which is Kundalini in the New Age religion, which is Holy Ghost in the fanatical Christianity, and you open the seventh seal, you open the crown chakra, you're opening the pineal gland. Each group has its own name for it. It's the same program. It's just
Well,
marketed
shouldn't we be
differently.
asking what are we opening ourselves up to? I've heard you speak of
Yeah,
chakras as portals of manipulation, and here we are inviting what kind of
yeah.
energies to come into our system and manipulate us.
Well, chakras are a technology. They are a technology. If For anybody who experiences life beyond, so the question to ask oneself is, do I exist beyond the chakra system? Do I exist beyond this energy known as Kundalini, or is that all I am? Do I exist beyond accessing knowledge of the universe through my pineal gland and achieving what I label, and the majority of life in the universe labels, mind enlightenment? Because the pineal gland is in the environment of the brain, it's in the environment of the mind. You see, your soul is something different.
Mm-hmm. Very.
And the love that one experiences through a heart chakra is so incredibly shallow relative to the love and the beingness one experiences through your soul center. It's a very different experience. It's a very different version of love. So people are caught up in the spiritual practices and the spiritual doctrines and dogma of first of all, if you just look at it in recent times, the ruling elite of the ancient past, because they kept it really secret for a very long time. Now it's just flooded the public arena, hasn't it? Isn't that interesting? Why that
Well,
would be happening right now?
why is it happening right now, George?
The reason it's happening right now is because it's harvest time. So people are being aligned. And when you look at the pineal gland, and I mean really look at the pineal gland, and there's so much glorification of the pineal gland. People have gone as far as calling it the seat of the soul, and that could not be further from the truth. It really
Mm-hmm.
could not. What the pineal gland enables one to do is, it's first of all, if you really look at it and you really know your body, you're really in deep communication with your body, you will know that it is a foreign body. Half the world's population does not drink fluoridated water, yet that half of the world's population have calcified pineal glands. And I'll tell you why, because I haven't drunk fluoridated water for 20 to 30 years. And I'll tell you why my pineal gland is calcified. That's because I'm purposefully making it redundant, because I'm not going to access knowledge through my pineal gland. I'm going to access knowledge through my core center of who and what I am. This is my third eye, not this. This is my eye of universal creation, not this. So what that does, the pineal gland is a biological implant. And that will sound crazy to so many people because they go, well, hang on, it's such an integral part of my glandular system, of the endocrine system. Well, it's positioned beautifully between the pituitary and the amygdala, the feminine, the amygdala, the pituitary, the masculine. The pineal gland is like the moon that's been placed between the earth and the sun. You see, it's an interface. And what it does is it's a tuner and it calibrates people to the synthetic universe and the creations of the God entity, because this universe has been around for a really long time. And if we understand what it's like to be a cosmic conqueror, if you put yourself in the position of being a cosmic conqueror and you are approaching a planetary population, how would you go about controlling that population? Would you just do it with forces on the ground? Well, we've all tried that and it doesn't work because you get rebellions after a while. That's a temporary thing. Now, what you do is you dig as deep into that reality as you can, and you try and reach into the most foundational templates of that reality and work from there out. So what you do is you implant technology, energetic technical implants, such as the chakra system, such as the Kundalini, which is the foundational base energies of the synthetic dark and the synthetic light. And you also put in a biological implant, which you can then make it look like it's all part of the natural makeup. And then you get people to want to participate in practices and engage in those technologies that you've implanted into those beings. It's not rocket science. It's basic control and manipulation of a species. It is not difficult to actually wrap your mind around that we have been seduced into believing that this is the pathway to enlightenment, and it's not. It's the pathway to a particular version of enlightenment, and it's the version of enlightenment that this God entity wants you to participate in and to love and to glorify.
And to also keep you actually from making a real connection with the real creator and also the real planet that we are,
Yes.
that we are functioning on. You said something
Yes.
earlier, George, and we've got only about 4.5 minutes before break, so I want to give you a heads up on that, that this is harvest time. What does that
Yes.
mean? What does that mean?
Okay, so we're on the precipice of integrating and imploding all our dimensions. So there's what I call the Ascension Deception. That's what I'm calling it, the Ascension Deception, because it's all about getting people to, it's propagating the discarnate condition in this world. It's turned people to resent their existence here and to focus on things outside of themselves and to give their power away to beings beyond this reality and to beyond what they perceive their own abilities are. So we've been diminished in our nature and we've been led to believe that we are somehow immature, infantile, relative to life in the universe, which couldn't be further from the truth. It is
Children
the
of
greatest
God.
lie.
We are children.
Oh, that's and also that we are at the bottom of the universe. I can explain why this reality is so dense, and it's got nothing to do with being at the bottom of the universe. That is a total lie. This is cosmopolitical propaganda. Seriously, not just exopolitical. This is cosmopolitical propaganda. This comes from multi-dimensions out there in the universe, in the great cosmic arena, through the universal matrix. This God entity is a very big and powerful entity relative to life within the arena, and we need to respect and understand its capabilities. And this is cosmopolitics, and it's a very fierce campaign at the moment to win the minds and the hearts of the human race because of who and what we are. And I'll get into that after the break because it's a very, very important thing to understand.
So we still got a couple of minutes and I'm still not clear on what the harvest is.
Yeah. Harvest is a result of the idea that we're on the precipice of ascension, which is people ascending to a higher vibration.
Oh, but that's not really happening, and so it's not really harvest time, or is it harvest time for this entity to try to harness us and get us to, move forward with him instead of with the real force of love behind creation?
Yeah, well, it's not just a him. There's
Or
also a she,
yes,
an
he, she,
equal counterpart, which is a she, and then those two stem back to an it, which is just pure mind energy. That's why the pursuit of consciousness is the primary and paramount goal in all of its teachings. That's why it's all about pineal gland, mind environment, mind enlightenment, and the pursuit of consciousness. Because you've got to ask yourself, is consciousness all I am, or do you exist beyond consciousness? Because I could tell you now, consciousness is one expression in this universe which emanates from soul. And people will say that no, soul has been created from consciousness. Well, that's a lie too, because they want to make mind energy paramount, to be top dog, to be the ruler, mind energy, and that's not true. It's the other way around. So
We see
again,
that
these are
over and
ideas that
over.
get propagated by this God entity continuously in this world.
We see that over and over, especially in the New Age movement, how, your thoughts create your reality, your mind is everything. What's going on in your body, all your feelings, all the information you're getting through your feelings, that doesn't matter. What really matters is what's going on in the mind, and that's what we have to pay attention to. So I'm really glad to be having this conversation. I know it's almost about time for us to go to break. I can't wait to get back to learn more from you, George, and to have my listeners tune in to what you're teaching. So listeners, please stick around. We will be right back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. You're here at Birth of a New Earth. I'm Janice Barcelo here with George Kavassilas. We just want to give a thank you to Martina in the background doing the producing and Phil on the sound, these people at the People's Voice. We love you. We thank you so much for what you're doing. And we're having so much information come out because of your help. So thank you. George, when we went to the break, we were talking a little bit about how the entity that's masquerading as God has been promoting the idea of the mind as the most important thing. Do you have any sense of why this energy has chosen to focus on the mind as opposed to, something else like, oh, sexuality is the most important thing and the Kundalini serpent in our nervous system is the most important thing? You want to share your thoughts about that?
Yeah, sure. The reason it's focus and it creates so much an aura of importance around this mind energy is because that's what it is itself. It is a mind entity. You see, what we have is the earthly matrix, and then we have the cosmic matrix. So most people know about the earthly matrix being talked and exposed in this world quite vigorously lately on this planet. But there's not many people talking about the cosmic matrix. And that's the big trap most people are falling into, because the God entity that's created this cosmic matrix and this synthetic universe has reached into many realities and domains. And like here on Earth, we have our ego. Our ego actually resides in the environment of the mind. It's a mind construct. So what people don't understand is we not only have an earthly ego, but we also have a cosmic ego. The notion that only Earth humans have egos and all the extraterrestrial races out there don't have egos is so ludicrous. It's so ludicrous. It's ridiculous. Every single extraterrestrial being and interdimensional being has an ego. That's fact. That's reality. Even God entities have egos, otherwise they would not be soliciting worship and molesting the spirits of humanity.
Right on.
We need to understand that this God entity is suffering from such egoic insanity. It sees itself. It's self-deluded to think that it's the creator of all that is and all that exists. And it sells and propagates the idea and the notion that we all spawned, that we are little bits that come out of the one, right? And that is the great deception, because we are infinite. When you understand what it means to be infinite, you realize that there is no such thing as totality. There is no totality. Therefore, there is no one, anything. I understand the concept of being one with life, where you live in harmony and synchronicity with life, and you integrate and you are the all in this universe. So I am you, for example, you are I understand that. But to say that we are one, then you encapsulate it. You create boundaries and borders and you put limits on it. And so the type of notion of being one that this God entity is promoting is really sophisticated versions of collectivism. These are collective hive mind mentalities where everybody is one. It's a totally different concept and construct to the organic way of life. It's fascinating once you start getting that point of reference and you can really see the tactics.
You know, this concept of a synthetic reality versus the organic universe. I've had this sense, and maybe you could speak to this, George, that there is the beautiful natural world, okay, on
Yeah.
this planet, that is the organic reality. And then the synthetic part comes when we superimpose over that all of our technology, all of our roads, cars, structures, the attack on the natural world, all of the poisons that we create, what we call medicine and law and justice and education. All these things are actually taking us away from a connection with the organic reality. Did you want to comment on that thought?
Yeah, that's the whole agenda.
Yes, I
That's
know.
the idea. There's quite a
That
bit of
is
echo going on at
That
the
is the whole
moment. I can
agenda.
hear
And then when
myself.
I think about too, what just popped into my mind in the education system, for example, we're taught that 1 + 1 = 2. And yet that's only true if you're in a false, dead, synthetic universe. Because in a living universe, if you take one woman, one man, put them together, they can create a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or more human being. And if you take one tomato seed and plant it in the earth, it can grow into a huge plant with dozens of tomatoes that contain hundreds more tomato seeds that can all turn into more tomato plants. So even the idea of numbers, the mathematics that we have learned has been taught to us in order to restrict our thinking and keep us locked in a synthetic universe. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, yeah. Numbers, mathematics is a language. It is a language that can be used to describe and a way of understanding and define life. Numbers are arbitrary. For example, I have this pen. I can measure the distance of that pen in millimeters, centimeters, kilometers, inches, miles, cubits, you name it. Numbers are
Mhm.
arbitrary. But that pen is the pen. There it is. Is, life is. It just is, right? So when we start looking at life through numbers, and we think that mathematics, they call it the universal language, okay? Now, the reason they do that is because there's less emotion involved and less feeling involved in it. It's a very mechanical way of explaining and describing life, but it's still a language and it's a labeling system. So when you actually begin to create life via mathematical templates, then that's when you are now engaging in the creation of synthetic life.
And synthetic life is what we are even immersed in, as we enter life through hospitals, for example. We're introduced to it immediately. It's like we're not
Uh,
born into the natural world like the rest of every other creature on the planet, right?
yeah,
Where
yeah, that's right.
we're
That's right.
being
And then, like, I'm into sacred geometry. I understand, the golden mean ratio, the Fibonacci sequence. I love all those numbers. It's a language. It's a beautiful language. And I understand the rhythm and the flow and how you can actually use those numbers to get you in sync with the natural order. But if you just stay in the realm of numbers, you're trapped in that paradigm. You're not actually breaking through and using it as a stepping stone to get to the natural and organic order of life, to understand its dynamics, its flow, its machinations, its personality traits, the way it functions, its modus operandi, the way it goes about creating life through agreements. And everything in this universe is a co-creation. Everything. There is nothing outside the co-creative process that takes place in this universe. Nothing.
You had spoken, George, of in addition to a synthetic universe created by an imposter god. Um, I guess we're all collaborating with that, creating that synthetic universe with the imposter god.
Oh, absolutely. We all
Yeah.
decided to make an agreement with it. And um, in fact, what we actually did from a much greater aspect of our beings is we contracted that being to come and impose its programs on limitations upon us because we are at the very end. Not everybody on this planet, but there are those of us who know we are at the very end of our universal journey, this journey through the universal matrix. And because we're about to implode, integrate everything that we've seen, done, and been in this universe into one expression, that's what's really going on here, as opposed to the Ascension Deception, where people are going to be taken from here to a higher vibratory reality. Do you see the difference between the two? And people need to understand that this God entity has created its own heavenly realms. It's got a multitude of realities and domains to cater for every different mindset. It expresses itself in so many different flavors. It presents itself in so many different forms of deities. So it's got all the plethora of deific figures here in this world. It's quite amazing when you really understand the magnitude of the deception. Oh my goodness, people just are so taken in by the programs and the doctrines of this entity because they think they go from one to the other to the other. It's all the same program, like I mentioned earlier, and the mechanisms, the three mechanisms, are all the same in every single one of them. That's the common denominator. It's the mechanical, the technology, and the procedures that people are using. Even though they're approaching it in a slightly different way, you're all going to end up in the same place because it's kind of like you have a building and you have a large building and you have doorways all around that building, and each doorway has its own advertising campaign, its own marketing campaign to lure you into that building. So you go past one door and you go, oh, I don't like that one. So you move along and you go, oh, I don't like that, and you go around the corner and then, oh, that looks nice. You know, that's got your attention. So you participate in those practices and those doctrines, and you like the flavor of those entities that are presenting themselves as your spiritual mentors. And then you open the door and you go in, but you're really in the same building as everybody else, if that makes sense.
I had this sense of ascension as sort of like, where are you going to ascend to? Like a different place in your mind, or like where are people think that they're going? It never did really resonate for me to begin with to ascend somewhere, because what I really want to do is ground in the truth. What I really want to do is connect with the real source of love. You made a distinction before between heart chakra love and soul love. And I have physically felt the difference. Like I have
Yeah,
physiologically experienced the difference. So I know what you're talking about. You even talk
yeah,
about, George, a synthetic masculine and feminine. Can you describe those to us? And what's real?
yeah,
What's real?
yeah, yeah. So the synthetic masculine and feminine are emanations from the synthetic or the creator of the synthetic universe, that God entity. And it needs to do that because it's trying to replicate the natural creator. Because we all know about the divine masculine and the divine feminine, which are the parental or overriding initial expressions from the creator. And it's like the parenting role because as we've entered this universe and we're learning about this universe and we have all these incredible experiences, there's also parameters to the way this universe functions. So this God entity has tried to replicate that, and it presents the divine its own version of what is divine masculine and what is divine feminine. And so we see that in a lot of the spiritual teachings and a lot of the religious deific figures that are being presented in all different forms, not just some old guy with a beard. You know, there's young guys with beards too. There's really interesting ladies that are being presented in all sorts of shapes and forms and personalities and different, you could say, even different archetypal sort of traits to them as well, because the organic creator has all different archetypal personalities, and so do we have them as well. But they're real live aspects of ourselves. They're not just ideological concepts of how one should behave. So the attempt for this God entity to replicate the organic universe to its best degree, because it needs to convince people that it's the true creator. So it's going to present some really alluring programs. Angels, ascended masters,
Yes.
It has its own spiritual hierarchies. Like I said, it has its own heavenly realms. And people aren't all going to go, when I say they all go into the same building, basically I'm talking about the construct of the synthetic universe. But that has a myriad, a multitude of realities and domains. And the reason I know that is because I know my universal journey. And I know I've already gone through that fun park, if you want to call it. I've already explored all of the realities and the domains that that entity has to offer, because I'm at the end of my universal journey. I'm at the end of my journey through this universe. And that's why in my book called Our Universal Journey, I explain about the road to compression. You see, we're not at the bottom of the universe. We're in the womb of the universe. And the reason why this reality is so dense is because this is a fractal reality. Because we needed to take, when we came in and became soul and became one with the creator of the universe, we then started branching out and exploring and expressing from the soul out. We created consciousness, which is the mind energy. We created spirit, which is a vehicle that carries different aspects of self. And then we started incarnating into realities and domains, which we co-created with other beings, and we've all co-created with the creator of this universe. This universe is a co-creation. It's a magnificent place. And then we explored all these different vibrational realities, domains, every nook and cranny, every expression, all the light, all the dark, all the positive, all the negative. We've seen everything there is to see. We've done everything there is to do. We've been everything there is to be. And now we needed to bring all of that fragmentation, we needed to reintegrate that into one expression to bring it all back home. So we started creating this galaxy, right?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we've only got about a minute and a half left. So I'm asking you to wind it down and also to let people know how they can find you.
So we created a galaxy by being a compressed version of the universe. So the galaxy is a fractal of the entire universal arena, on the entire universe, as a matter of fact. And then the solar system, then the earth, then the human vessel. And that's why our genes are a fractal of the universe. And that is why this reality is so dense, because we're at the end. We're taking it all through the eye of the needle. We're bringing it home. And this is where the temporal meets the soul. This is immaculate conception going on. That's what you embody. That's what you are.
Beautiful.
So my
how
website,
do people find you, George? What is your website?
Yeah, my website is ourjourneyhome.com.au. And the book is Our Universal Journey, and everything can be found from that main website.
The book can be found on your website. It's not on Amazon or anything like that?
Yes, it's on Amazon as well. It's available through Amazon, yes.
Okay. George, I have so appreciated this time with you. I would love to have you back again on a later show. There's so much information that you can share. To my listeners, we'll be back again next week. To everybody at the People's Voice, we thank you so much. Hope you'll be with us for the next round. Okay. Bye for now.